Howdy everyone, welcome back to Perkins Engineering YouTube channel. This year it's proudly brought to you by our friends at Automation Solutions. Really cool that they've jumped on board this year. They're an Australian family business offering custom, cost-effective robot systems such as machine loading and press brake folding. So if there's anything you can do to support the people that are supporting us, please do so. Jump on their website, automationsolutions.com.au. But we're really grateful to have their support this year. It enables us to give you guys more and more videos. So thanks again, Automation Solutions. This episode, we're actually going to change a Ford 9-inch diff ratio in the 2003 Holden Commodore. It's currently got a 3.7 diff ratio in it, which was put in it for Winton. In nearly 2 years, we never made it to Winton, thanks to COVID. So we're going to put a 3.25 ratio back in it for Phillip Island. And we're going to grab some tools and show you how to change a diff ratio. Okay, so here we are lying on the ground. No hoists at Perkins Engineering, we've never had hoists. So we're just doing how we do it at a racetrack. We've got a nice clean drain tray. First job we do is drop the oil. We've already cut off the lock wire from the sump plug, which we always run lock wire on the diff and gearbox sump plugs. So I'll crack the nut, and we're going to reuse the oil because I actually haven't used this diff since we put the 3.7 diff in it. So I'll try and keep the oil, and we'll start to fill this up. Make sure none of the lock wire ends up in our drain tray. Got to keep that nice and clean. It's always fun trying to do this without getting any oil on your hands. Look at that. Beautiful clean magnet. So every sump plug has a magnet on it, and the magnet obviously attracts metal. We haven't ran this, so there's literally no metal on the magnet. Nice and clean, and really clean oil. So we'll let that drain, and in the meantime we can take off the camber wedges off the side. We need to pull the axles out of it, either side of the diff ratio. Okay, so outside the car now, we need to pull the brake caliper off the rear rotor, so that we can get to the camber wedge and the hub and pull the axles out. So I've just pulled the nuts off the calipers. I'll just whip the pads out, and then I grab a cable tie to hang the caliper up, because I don't want to disconnect the brake line so that I don't get air in the system. So I put a cable tie through here, and I'll just tie it up to the spring, to the rear shocker, and then that way it's not hanging off the brake line, it's held by a cable tie. So I'll get that in there. It's always a bit tricky to do when you're filming. Okay, that's our caliper suspended. Now we need to crack our nuts that hold the rear brake rotor on. So they're just a button head screw. Pull them out. And like that, our rear rotor is now off. We'll do the same on the other side, and then we have to grab a heat gun to heat up our aluminium camber wedge. Okay, now we've got the rotor and the caliper out of the way. We need to get the wedge off. It's a tolerance fit aluminium camber wedge to a steel diff housing, so we need to use the heat gun, and we heat this up, and that will give us enough expansion where it will come off. Righto, back underneath the car. So now we disconnect tail shaft. So now the diff ratio's out, rip the old gasket off, give the face a nice clean, and we'll put a new gasket on and time for the new ratio. So the old 3.7 ratio here came out of the car. It's actually a Mark Williams diff carrier, and the 325 that's going in is a Harrop diff carrier, so slightly different castings, but obviously still made for the 9-inch, and we've put a new ratio in there, so that's ready to fit. So the new ratio's in. I've just finger tighted all the nuts up. You'll notice, those with a keen eye will notice we run plain nuts locks on these diff bolts, or diff nuts I should say. These are actually a Holden conrod nut. Something we've used for a long time is the Holden conrod nut. Very good quality nut, a nice big plain nut, and it's perfect for this job. So we'll just nip all these up. Some of them are a little bit tricky to get to based on the casting, but we nip all these up and then we'll hook up the tail shaft and this wheel speed sensor. Okay, now that the diff center's back in, it's time to put the axles and hubs back in and the brake rotors and calipers. Right, everything's back together. Time to put some Castrol Ceph XA back in, which we used the stuff that we pulled out. I've just put the drum pump straight into here and let's fill it up. Righto, everything's back together now. We've got oil in. Time to run the engine up, run the diff up, then we'll check for leaks. Then we're going to remember to put the lock wire back on the sun plug, and then the job done.